The sky turned dark over Alaska as Major John Pershing stared at the radar screen. Strange signals had been appearing for the past 3 days. At first he thought it was just equipment failure. Now he wasn't so sure. "Sir, you need to see this," said Olivia Grant, the base's communications specialist. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were wide with fear. Pershing followed her to the main monitoring room, where a dozen military personnel stood frozen, watching the large display screen. Massive objects were entering Earth's atmosphere. They moved too slowly to be meteors and too purposefully to be space debris. "How many?" Pershing asked. 7 large vessels that we can track," Olivia replied. "They're positioning themselves over major cities: New York, Beijing, London, Moscow, Tokyo, New Delhi, and Sao Paulo." Pershing ran his hand through his short gray hair. At 45, he had seen combat in 3 different conflicts, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. "Are we in contact with command?" he asked. "Yes, sir. They're scrambling jets for a closer look. The president will address the nation in 30 minutes. The next few hours passed in a blur. The world watched as the alien ships hovered silently over the cities. They were massive dark structures that blocked the sun like floating mountains. World leaders called for calm, while military forces mobilized. Diplomatic efforts began immediately. The aliens, who identified themselves as the Voraks, agreed to a meeting with United Nations representatives. People around the globe held their breath, hoping for peaceful first contact. Their hopes died the next morning. Without warning, smaller ships launched from the larger vessels. They rained energy weapons down on San Francisco, Sydney, and Cairo. Millions died in the first hour. The military bases near these cities were the first targets. Command centers went silent as government communications broke down. In his remote Alaskan base, Pershing and his team watched in horror. "Try to raise anyone on any channel," he ordered. Olivia worked frantically at her station. "I'm getting scattered reports. The aliens are targeting military installations first, then government centers. There's no pattern to their attacks otherwise," Dr. Alan Morris, a civilian scientist who had been studying atmospheric anomalies at the base, approached Pershing. "Major, I don't think this is a total invasion yet. Look at their pattern." He pointed to a map showing the alien attacks. "They're taking out our ability to respond in a coordinated way. This is just the first wave." Pershing nodded. The doctor was right. This was military strategy. Disable command and communication first. "What's our situation here?" Pershing asked his second-in-command, Lieutenant Sam Carter. "We're stocked for 6 months, sir. Full power, weapons, and supplies. Our location isn't on any major maps, and we're partially shielded by the mountain range." "Good. We need to establish contact with any surviving military units." Pershing turned to Olivia. "Use the old frequencies, the backup systems, anything they might not know about." For the next 2 days, the base became a hub of frantic activity. Olivia managed to contact several surviving military outposts using outdated radio frequencies. Each told the same story: chaos, destruction, and a complete breakdown of the normal chain of command. On the 3rd day after the initial attack, Dr. Morris made an important discovery. "I've been analyzing the debris from their weapons," he explained, showing Pershing a microscope image. "Their technology is advanced, but it follows understandable scientific principles. If we can collect more samples, we might find weaknesses." That night, Pershing couldn't sleep. He stood outside the base looking at the stars, wondering how many other worlds the Voraks had attacked before reaching Earth. The cold Alaskan air bit at his face as he considered their options. His thoughts were interrupted by the base alarm. "Major, we've got incoming," Sam shouted as Pershing ran back inside. 3 small alien craft heading straight for us." "How did they find us?" Pershing demanded. "They must be doing systematic sweeps," Dr. Morris said. "We need to evacuate." Pershing made a quick decision. "Get everyone to the underground bunkers and tunnels. Sam, get a team and secure the research data. Dr. Morris, grab whatever samples you've been studying. Olivia, pack up the communication equipment we can move. We have 10 minutes. The base erupted into organized chaos as everyone followed their orders. Pershing helped load essential supplies into the underground tunnels that connected to an exit, 0.3 miles away. The first explosion hit just as they were finishing. Part of the ceiling collapsed, blocking one of the hallways. "Is everyone accounted for?" Pershing shouted over the noise of the next explosion. 2 people trapped in. "The East Wing!" Sam yelled back. Without hesitation, Pershing ran toward the damaged section. He found 2 technicians pinned by fallen debris. With adrenaline fueling his strength, he lifted the heaviest beam while they crawled free. "Go," he ordered them. "Follow the others to the tunnel." The entire base shook with another direct hit. Pershing barely made it back to the main tunnel before the ceiling of the main complex completely gave way. Guided by emergency lights, the group of 43 survivors made their way through the narrow escape tunnel. They could hear the alien ship still bombarding the base above them. 3 hours later, they emerged in a small valley 5 miles from the destroyed base. Snow was falling, covering their tracks. Pershing did a head count. Everyone who had made it to the tunnels had survived. "What now, sir?" Sam asked. Pershing looked at the frightened but determined faces around him. "Now we find shelter, then we fight back." They trudged through the snow to an old ranger station that Pershing knew about from training exercises. It was small but stocked with basic supplies. That night, huddled around a wood stove, Pershing addressed the survivors. "I won't lie to you. Our situation is dire. The world as we knew it is gone. But we're alive. And as long as we're alive, we can resist." Olivia had set up a makeshift communication center. "I've made contact with a military unit in Canada and another in Colorado. There are more survivors out there." "Good," Pershing nodded. "Tomorrow we start planning. Dr. Morris will continue his research. We'll gather whatever weapons and supplies we can find, and we'll contact every surviving group we can reach." He looked at each face in turn. "This is just the beginning. The Voraks think they've won because they've destroyed our capitals and military bases. But they don't understand humans. We don't give up. We adapt. We survive. And eventually, we'll take back our planet." Outside, the aurora borealis danced across the sky, oblivious to the changed world below, and somewhere in that sky, the Voraks continued their systematic destruction, unaware that in a small cabin in Alaska, the seeds of resistance were already taking root. 6 months passed since the aliens first attacked Earth. The small cabin in Alaska had become too cramped for the growing number of survivors who found their way to Pershing's group. They moved to an abandoned mining facility in the Rocky Mountains, which offered better protection and more space. Major John Pershing stood at the entrance of their new base, watching as a convoy of 3 trucks approached. These were survivors from a military base in Colorado, bringing much-needed supplies and weapons. Pershing had sent Sam Carter to find them 2 weeks ago. "They made it," Olivia Grant said, standing beside him. Her communication skills had proven invaluable, helping them contact other survivor groups across North America. "How many?" Pershing asked. 28, including Colonel Frank Winters," Olivia replied, checking her notes. He was the commanding officer at Fort Carson. Pershing frowned. He had heard of Winters, a by-the-book officer who rarely took risks. That kind of thinking wouldn't work against the Voraks. The trucks stopped and people began climbing out. Sam approached with a tall man wearing a faded uniform with Colonel's eagles on the collar. "Major Pershing," Colonel Winters said, offering his hand. "Your reputation precedes you." "Welcome to Eagle's Nest," Pershing replied, using the code name they had given their base. "Your people look tired. We have food and beds ready." As the newcomers settled in, Pershing took Winters on a tour of their operation. The mining facility had been converted into a functional base with sleeping quarters, a command center, a medical area, and even a small lab where Dr. Morris worked. "I'm impressed," Winters admitted as they entered the command center where Olivia coordinated communications with other resistance cells. "But I don't understand your strategy. Small attacks on supply lines, stealing their technology. We should be gathering forces for a major counterattack." Pershing stopped walking. "A direct attack would be suicide. The Voraks control the skies and have superior weapons. We need to understand them first, find their weaknesses." While they continue to strip our planet of resources? Winters challenged. What do you mean? Pershing asked sharply. Winters pulled out a folded map. We've been tracking their movements. They're building massive facilities here, here, and here. He pointed to locations across the western United States. Our scouts report they're extracting minerals, water, even organic material. They're harvesting Earth. This new information troubled Pershing. That night he called a meeting with his core team, Olivia, Dr. Morris, Sam, and now Colonel Winters. We need better intelligence on these extraction sites, Pershing said, and we need to coordinate with other resistance groups to disrupt their operations. I have contacts with cells in Canada and Mexico, Olivia offered. We could create a unified communication network. My team can help with that, Winters said, surprising Pershing with his cooperation. Dr. Morris cleared his throat. I have something to share, too. The scientist looked exhausted. He rarely left his lab these days. I've been studying the alien technology we've salvaged. Their communication devices emit specific frequencies that seem to affect their nervous systems. What does that mean? Sam asked. It means, Morris explained, that certain radio frequencies might disrupt their neural networks. It's like how some sounds can be painful to human ears but much more severe. Pershing leaned forward. Could we use this as a weapon? Possibly, Morris nodded. But I need more samples, especially from their personal communication devices. Then, we'll get them for you, Pershing decided. Winters, can your people join us for a raid? Despite their differences, Pershing and Winters worked well together, planning the operation. 3 days later, they led a team of 12 to a Vorax outpost near what used to be Denver. The aliens had set up a small communication relay station, guarded by only 4 Vorax soldiers. The creatures stood 7 feet tall with grayish-green skin and 4 arms. They moved with unsettling speed and precision. Remember, Pershing whispered to his team as they took position, we need their equipment intact and at least one of their communication devices. The raid was quick and successful. Sam led a team that created a distraction at the east perimeter. While the Vorax guards responded, Pershing, Winters, and 4 others entered from the west. They neutralized 2 guards and secured the equipment. They were preparing to leave. A Vorax transport ship approached. Pershing made a split-second decision. New plan, he said. Winters, get the equipment out. Sam, help him. I'm going to place charges and destroy this entire relay station. That wasn't the mission, Winters objected. It is now, Pershing replied firmly. This is too good an opportunity to waste. Reluctantly, Winters led the team out with the stolen technology while Pershing and 1 soldier named Ryan planted explosive charges. They barely made it out before the transport landed. The explosion lit up the night sky as they rejoined the others at their hidden vehicles. Back at Eagle's Nest, Dr. Morris was ecstatic with the new alien technology. While he worked, Olivia made another breakthrough. She had managed to decode part of the alien communications. They call themselves the Vorax Collective, she explained to Pershing and Winters. And according to what I've translated, Earth is the 18th world they've invaded. 18th? Sam asked, shocked. Olivia nodded grimly. They're systematic. They identify worlds with resources they need, invade, extract everything valuable, and move on. But there's something else, she continued. They seem particularly interested in humans. There's repeated mention of our adaptive capabilities being unique among species they've encountered. So we're special, Winters said sarcastically. We might be, Pershing replied thoughtfully. The other 17 civilizations fell quickly, right? He looked at Olivia, who nodded. But we're still fighting after 6 months. That has to mean something. The next morning, Pershing called everyone together. Nearly 100 people now lived at Eagle's Nest, a mix of military personnel and civilian survivors. Yesterday's mission was a success, he announced, but it was just the beginning. Dr. Morris is working on technology that might give us an edge against the Vorax. Olivia has connected us with resistant cells across the continent, and Colonel Winters has brought valuable intelligence about the aliens' extraction operations. He paused, looking at each face. The Vorax think we're just scattered survivors. They don't see us as a threat. That's their mistake. While they focus on stripping our planet, we'll grow stronger. We'll learn their weaknesses. We'll develop new weapons. And when the time is right, we'll hit them so hard they'll regret ever coming to Earth. A cheer rose from the crowd. Even Winters looked impressed. For the first time since the invasion, Pershing felt real hope. Humans were adaptable, creative, and determined. If the Vorax thought conquering Earth would be like their previous 17 worlds, they were in for a surprise. The resistance wasn't just surviving anymore, it was beginning to fight back. A year had passed since the Vorax invaded Earth. Major John Pershing stood in the expanded command center of Eagle's Nest, looking at the large map on the wall. Red pins marked known alien bases. Blue pins showed human resistance cells. 1 year ago, the red had dominated. Now blue pins were spreading. The European resistance made contact, Olivia said, entering the room with a tablet in hand. They've established a secure base in the Alps. Their leader wants to speak with you. Pershing nodded. Thanks to Olivia's work, they now had a global communication network connecting resistance fighters around the world. It used old satellite systems the aliens hadn't bothered to destroy and encrypted frequencies that the Vorax couldn't detect. Put them through to the main screen, Pershing said. A woman's face appeared on the screen. She had short blonde hair and a scar across her right cheek. This is Commander Elise DuPont of the European Allied Resistance. Am I speaking with Major Pershing? You are, Pershing confirmed. Good to finally make contact with your group. Likewise, she replied. Your reputation has spread far. The American who fights like the aliens have never seen. Pershing dismissed the praise with a wave of his hand. We all fight with what we have. Tell me about your situation. For the next hour, they exchanged information. The European resistance faced similar challenges but had developed different tactics. They had less access to military equipment, but had recruited many scientists and engineers who were developing innovative weapons. When the call ended, Colonel Winters approached Pershing. Their initial tension had evolved into a solid partnership over the past 6 months. That's the 5th major resistance group we've connected with this month, Winters said. Asia, Australia, South America, Africa, and now Europe. We're truly global now. It's time for the next step, Pershing replied. Call everyone to the main hall. I want to address the entire base. 2 hours later, nearly 300 people gathered in the converted mining hall. What had started as a small group of survivors had grown into a substantial fighting force. Some were military personnel. Others were civilians with useful skills. All were committed to fighting the Vorax. Pershing stood on a raised platform. Beside him were his core team, Olivia, Dr. Morris, Sam, and Colonel Winters. For 1 year, Pershing began, his voice echoing in the hall. We've been fighting to survive. We've raided alien outposts. We've sabotaged their equipment. We've rescued survivors, but we've been fighting separate battles. Today, that changes. He gestured to the large screen behind him, which lit up to show faces from around the world. The leaders of other resistance groups Olivia had contacted. Meet your allies, Pershing said. Resistance fighters from every continent. Different languages, different cultures, different backgrounds. But we all share one thing. Earth is our home. And we want it back. Each leader introduced themselves briefly. Commander DuPont from Europe, General Zhao from Asia, Commander Okafor from Africa, Colonel Rivera from South America, Major Bennett from Australia. When the introductions finished, Pershing continued. The Vorax think they've won. They control our cities, they harvest our resources. They believe we're just scattered survivors. But they're wrong. Together we are humanity's army. He outlined his plan for a coordinated global resistance. Each group would continue their regional operations, but they would share intelligence, resources, and tactics. Most importantly, they would plan simultaneous strikes against Vorax targets worldwide. Divided, we can annoy them, Pershing said. United, we can defeat them. The response was immediate and enthusiastic. Even leaders who had been hesitant initially agreed that coordination was their best hope. After the meeting, Dr. Morris pulled Pershing aside. The frequency weapon is ready for testing, he said. We've modified it based on data from all the resistance groups. It should disrupt their neural pathways temporarily. How temporarily? Pershing asked. 30 seconds, maybe a minute, Morris replied. But that's enough time to gain advantage in combat. When can we test it? Tomorrow, if you approve a small mission. There's a Vorax patrol that passes near here every 3 days. They'll be in range tomorrow afternoon. Pershing nodded. Make it happen. I want to see this weapon in action myself. The next day, Pershing led a small team, including Dr. Morris, to a ridge overlooking a valley where the Vorax patrol routinely passed. The weapon looked simple, just a modified radio transmitter with a directional antenna. Remember, Morris whispered as they waited, this is just a test. We don't know exactly how they'll react. Everyone stays hidden. Pershing ordered the no engagement unless absolutely necessary. At exactly 2:17 p.m., the Vorax patrol appeared, 4 soldiers escorting a hovering platform carrying mining equipment. Dr. Morris adjusted the frequency on his device and pressed a button. Nothing seemed to happen for a moment. Then suddenly, all 4 Vorax soldiers clutched their heads. They dropped their weapons and fell to their knees. The hovering platform crashed to the ground. It works, Morris whispered excitedly. After 30 seconds, the aliens began to recover. They looked disoriented, searching frantically for threats. Unable to identify what had attacked them, they quickly retreated, leaving their equipment behind. Back at Eagle's Nest, the success of the test caused excitement throughout the base. But Pershing's celebration was interrupted by an unexpected arrival. Sir, Sam said, entering Pershing's office. There's someone here to see you. Says he's your brother. Pershing's heart skipped a beat. Peter, here? Sam nodded and stepped aside. A man who looked like a younger version of Pershing walked in. He had the same strong jawline but longer hair and a thick beard. Hello, John, Peter said. It's been a while. Pershing stood frozen. He hadn't seen his brother in 5 years, not since their argument after their father's funeral. How did you find us? I was with a survivor group in Utah when we heard rumors about a major resistance base in the Rockies led by a Major Pershing. Didn't take a genius to figure out it might be you. The brothers stood awkwardly until Pershing finally offered his hand. Peter took it, then pulled him into a tight hug. I thought you were dead, Peter said, his voice breaking. I thought the same about you, Pershing replied. That night, as Peter was introduced to the rest of the team, Olivia received an urgent message from the Asian resistance. General Zhao's base was attacked, she reported. Heavy casualties. The Vorax used new tactics, targeting their communication systems first. They're adapting, Winters observed grimly. Pershing nodded. So must we. Tell all resistance cells to change protocols immediately and move up our timeline. Our first coordinated global strike happens in 1 week. He looked around at his team, now including his brother. The Vorax think they know what humans are capable of. They're about to learn they're wrong. We're not just fighting back anymore, we're taking the war to them. 2 years had passed since the Vorax first appeared in Earth's skies. The global resistance network that Major John Pershing helped create had evolved from scattered groups into an organized force. Humanity had learned to fight back. They had even won some battles. But the war was far from over. Pershing sat in a helicopter flying low over the Rocky Mountains. Next to him was his brother Peter, who had become one of his most trusted fighters despite their occasional disagreements. Are you sure about this intel? Peter asked, shouting over the noise of the rotors. Pershing nodded. Olivia intercepted and decoded the transmission herself. The Vorax are bringing in a high-ranking commander to inspect the Colorado extraction facility. This might be our only chance to capture someone who knows their overall strategy. The helicopter landed in a small clearing where Sam waited with a team of 20 soldiers. They had gathered from 3 different resistance bases for this mission. Perimeter is secure, Sam reported. No Vorax patrols detected yet. Pershing gathered everyone for a final briefing. Remember, our primary objective is to capture the Vorax commander alive. Dr. Morris needs information only a high-ranking Vorax can provide. The plan was simple but dangerous. The Vorax commander would arrive at the extraction facility by air. The resistance fighters would use Dr. Morris's frequency weapon to disable the Vorax ship, forcing it to land. Then they would move in, using the frequency weapons to incapacitate the aliens long enough to capture the commander. The frequency weapons will only work for about 60 seconds now, Pershing reminded them. The Vorax have started developing protection against it, so timing is everything. As the sun began to set, everyone took their positions around the large alien facility. The massive structure rose from what used to be a small Colorado town. Giant machines extracted minerals from deep within the earth, producing an eerie humming sound. Target approaching, Olivia's voice came through their radio. She was coordinating from a mobile command center 2 miles away. ETA 3 minutes. Pershing checked his weapon one last time and glanced at Peter. Stay close to me. No heroics. Peter grinned. That's rich coming from you. The Vorax ship appeared, a sleek vessel that moved silently through the darkening sky. As it began its descent toward the landing pad, Sam activated the frequency weapon. The ship immediately wobbled, losing altitude faster than intended. It hit the landing pad hard, its engines sputtering and dying. Move in, Pershing ordered. The team rushed forward, smaller frequency devices ready. When the ship's door opened and Vorax soldiers emerged, looking disoriented, the humans activated their weapons. The aliens fell to their knees, clutching their heads with all 4 arms. Pershing and Peter led the way into the ship. Inside, they found what they were looking for, a Vorax wearing ornate armor with distinctive markings. That's the commander, Pershing said. Secure him quickly. They managed to restrain the alien commander before the effects of the frequency weapon wore off. Just as they were preparing to exit, an alarm blared throughout the facility. Major, we have a problem. Olivia's urgent voice came through the radio. Multiple Vorax ships approaching from the east. They must have had a hidden security protocol. Everyone out now, Pershing ordered. Back to the extraction point. The team moved quickly, carrying the restrained Vorax commander. But as they reached the edge of the facility, plasma fire from Vorax weapons cut through the air around them. 3 resistance fighters fell. We need cover, Sam shouted. Peter pointed to a cluster of storage buildings. There, we can make it. The team ran for cover, dodging energy blasts. Pershing stayed at the rear, making sure everyone got ahead of him. As the last soldier reached the buildings, Pershing felt a searing pain in his leg. A Vorax blast had grazed, and Peter doubled back, firing his weapon to provide cover. Come on, he shouted, grabbing Pershing's arm and helping him to the buildings. Once inside, Sam quickly assessed the situation. We're cut off from our primary extraction point. The Vorax have surrounded the facility. Pershing grimaced through the pain in his leg. Olivia, we need an alternate route out. Working on it, she replied. There's a maintenance tunnel that runs under the facility. It should exit about a mile north of your position. What about our captive? Peter asked, nodding toward the Vorax commander who watched them with 4 dark eyes. He comes with us, Pershing said firmly. This mission doesn't fail. Using the building's shadows for cover, they made their way to the maintenance tunnel entrance. Sam led the way, with Peter and another soldier handling the Vorax prisoner. Pershing limped behind, his injured leg growing more painful. The tunnel was narrow and dark, forcing them to move in single file. After 20 minutes of careful movement, they reached the exit. Olivia was waiting with vehicles to transport them back to base. Did we lose anyone? Pershing asked as they loaded the Vorax commander into a secure transport. 3 confirmed casualties, Sam reported grimly. Johnson, Rivera, and Chen. Pershing closed his eyes briefly. Every loss hit him hard. They didn't die in vain. This captive might give us the edge we need. Back at Eagle's Nest, Dr. Morris and his team immediately began working with the Vorax commander. They had developed methods to communicate with the aliens over the past year, using a combination of captured technology and linguistic analysis. While Dr. Morris worked, Pershing had his leg treated in the medical bay. Peter stayed by his side. That was a close one, Peter said. Too close, Pershing nodded. but worth the risk if Morris gets what we need. 3 hours later, Dr. Morris entered the medical bay, his face showing a mix of excitement and concern. "I have news," he said. "Our captive is more valuable than we thought. He's not just any commander, he's one of their war strategists, directly connected to their central command." "Did he tell you anything useful?" Pershing asked, sitting up despite the pain. "Yes. Their forces are stretched thin. They're fighting on 3 other worlds besides Earth and—" Morris paused, looking almost surprised. "We're causing them more trouble than any species they've ever encountered." "Good," Peter said. "There's more," Morris continued. "They have a hierarchical command structure. All major decisions come from their command ship in orbit. They can't function effectively without those orders." Pershing's eyes widened as he realized the implication. Cut off the head, and the body falls. "Exactly," Morris nodded. "Their entire invasion force would be thrown into chaos without the command ship." Pershing was silent for a moment, his mind racing with possibilities. Then he looked up at Peter and Morris. "Contact all resistance leaders immediately. It's time to change our strategy. Instead of fighting their forces on the ground, we need to take the fight to orbit." "You want to attack their command ship?" Peter asked incredulously. "How would we even get there?" Pershing's eyes showed a determined gleam. "We've captured enough of their smaller ships. Dr. Morris and his team have been studying their technology. It's time to put that knowledge to use." He tried to stand, wincing at the pain but refusing to lie back down. "The Vorax thought they were hunting us. They didn't realize we were learning everything about them. Now we know their weakness, and we're going to exploit it." 3 years after the Vorax invasion began, humanity prepared for its most daring mission. Operation Unified Dawn would launch simultaneous attacks on Vorax facilities worldwide, while a small team led by Major John Pershing would infiltrate the alien command ship in orbit. The command center of Eagle's Nest buzzed with activity. Screens showed resistance leaders from around the world preparing their forces. The mood was tense, but hopeful. "All teams report ready," Olivia announced from her communication station. She had dark circles under her eyes after weeks of coordinating the global operation. Asia, Europe, Africa, South America, Australia, all confirm their targets are under surveillance and attack positions are secured. Pershing nodded. His leg had healed, though he still walked with a slight limp. "And our team?" "The ship is ready," Dr. Morris replied. Over the past 6 months, he had led a team of engineers in modifying a captured Vorax vessel. "We've tested the cloaking technology. It should mask our approach to their command ship." Colonel Winters stepped forward. "Ground teams will launch their attacks at exactly 0600 hours. That should draw attention away from orbit long enough for your team to board the command ship." Pershing looked at the small group selected for the space mission. Dr. Morris to handle the alien technology, Olivia for communications, Sam for security, Peter as his second-in-command, and 4 specially trained soldiers. "Get some rest," Pershing told them. "We launch in 8 hours." Later that night, unable to sleep, Pershing stood outside looking at the stars. Among them was the faint shape of the Vorax command ship, a massive structure that controlled the entire invasion force. "Nervous?" Peter asked, joining him. "Cautious," Pershing replied. "This mission determines everything. If we fail, we won't," Peter interrupted. "For 3 years, the Vorax have underestimated humans. They still don't understand what we're capable of when united." Pershing smiled slightly. "When did my little brother become so wise?" "Probably around the time my big brother united the planet against alien invaders," Peter answered with a grin. At dawn, the modified Vorax ship lifted off from its hidden hangar in the mountains. Pershing's team strapped into seats designed for creatures with 4 arms and longer limbs. Dr. Morris piloted, having spent months learning the alien controls. "Eagle's Nest, this is Ascension," Pershing radioed. "We are airborne." "Confirmed. Ascension," Colonel Winters replied. "Ground operations commencing in 3 minutes." As their ship climbed higher, the curvature of Earth became visible. Pershing saw flashes of light on the surface as the global attack began. The resistance was hitting Vorax facilities on every continent simultaneously. Cloaking technology activated, Dr. Morris announced as they approached orbit. We're now invisible to their sensors. The Vorax command ship grew larger in their view screen. It was an enormous structure like a floating city in space. Hundreds of smaller vessels moved around it. Look, Sam pointed. Many ships are leaving the command ship, heading to Earth. They're responding to our ground attacks, Pershing said. Just as we planned. Dr. Morris guided their ship toward a secondary docking bay. According to their intelligence, it was rarely used and lightly guarded. As they approached, Olivia monitored Vorax communications. They're completely focused on the ground attacks, she reported. There's no indication they've detected us. The docking was tense but successful. After securing their ship, the team moved quickly through the alien corridors. Dr. Morris led the way, using a captured Vorax data tablet to navigate. The central command center should be 3 levels up, he whispered. They encountered few Vorax soldiers. Most had been deployed to respond to the ground attacks. The few they did meet were quickly neutralized using the frequency weapons. When they reached the central command level, they faced their first real challenge, a heavily guarded door. That has to be it, Pershing said, observing the 6 Vorax guards. We need to move quickly. The frequency weapons will only give us a minute at most. Sam and the 4 soldiers positioned themselves. On Pershing's signal, they activated the frequency weapons. The guards collapsed immediately, allowing the team to rush forward. Dr. Morris quickly worked on the door controls. I'm in, he said, as the massive door slid open. Inside was a large circular room with dozens of Vorax officers working at stations. In the center stood a tall alien with elaborate armor and markings, clearly the Supreme Commander. The humans activated their frequency weapons immediately. All the Vorax in the room fell to their knees, clutching their heads. Pershing's team moved quickly, securing the room and disarming the aliens. As the effects of the weapons began to wear off, Pershing approached the Supreme Commander. Using translation technology developed by Dr. Morris, he addressed the alien leader. I am Major John Pershing of Earth. You will order all your forces to cease fighting immediately. The Supreme Commander's 4 eyes focused on Pershing. When he spoke, the translation device converted his words. You have surprised us, human. No species has ever reached our command ship before. We're full of surprises, Pershing replied. Now order your forces to stand down. And if I refuse? Dr. Morris stepped forward, holding a device he had been working on for months. This transmitter can broadcast our frequency weapon throughout your entire ship. Every Vorax on board would be incapacitated. We could take control of your weapon systems and target your other vessels. The Supreme Commander was silent for a moment. Then he made a gesture that the translation device identified as signifying reluctant respect. We underestimated your species, the alien said. The other 17 worlds we conquered surrendered when their governments fell. But you humans, you continued fighting from nothing. That's what we do, Pershing said simply. Now your forces will leave our planet, or we will destroy this command ship and every Vorax vessel in orbit. After a tense standoff, the Supreme Commander gave the order. On screens around the room, they watched as Vorax ships worldwide ceased firing and began to withdraw. Olivia maintained contact with Earth. Colonel Winters confirms the Vorax forces are retreating globally, she reported, her voice filled with disbelief and joy. The Supreme Commander faced Pershing again. You have won this battle, human, but the Vorax collective spans hundreds of systems. We may return one day. And we'll be waiting, Pershing replied, united and stronger than before. 2 days later, the last Vorax ships left Earth's orbit. Humanity had suffered terrible losses, billions dead, cities destroyed, environments damaged. But they had done what 17 other civilizations couldn't, driven off the invaders. Pershing stood with his team at Eagle's Nest, watching the celebration around them. Colonel Winters approached with a bottle of preserved champagne. To victory, he said, pouring small glasses for everyone. Not just victory, Pershing corrected. to unity. We won because we stopped fighting each other and fought together. As they raised their glasses, Olivia received a transmission from the European resistance. Commander DuPont wants to speak with you, she told Pershing. She says the United Nations is reforming and they want you to address the first meeting. Pershing shook his head. I'm no politician. No, Peter agreed. But you're the man who united humanity. They need your voice as we rebuild. Looking around at the faces of people from different countries, backgrounds, and beliefs, all working together, Pershing realized Earth would never be the same. The Voraks had destroyed much, but they had also given humanity something unexpected. A reason to stand united. Tell Commander DuPont I'll speak, he finally said. But my message will be simple. We faced extinction, and we survived because we stood together. If we remember that lesson, we can build something better than what we lost. Above them, the stars shone in a sky now free of alien ships. Somewhere out there, the Voraks might be, planning their return. But when they came back, if they came back, they would find a united human race waiting for them, and Earth would never be an easy conquest again.